Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Anfield Index, another daily red podcast to get you through the day or to get you through the morning anyway, and to go over all the latest Liverpool news because it's been a transfer very heavy central, not English, but it's very transfer central at the moment. We aren't quite in the summer window, but we've come out of January. We're in that natural time where as soon as the window's shut, we get linked with a million players left, right, and centre. And there's a couple names that we're going to go over today. We're also going to have a bit of talk about the Nottingham Forest game and just general sort of chit chat about everything going on with the Reds because there is a good number to discuss. Before we do that, click like and subscribe. Make sure you go over to AnfieldIndex.com. There's new articles on there every day, single day. There's 15 to 20 of them. A lot of new stuff coming out all the time. And if you go to itwasalwaysliverpool.com, that's like the Substack, more the opinion pieces. You'll get articles from the likes of Liverpool legend Jan Molby. You'll get Dr. Barch. You'll get all the people on this channel on Anfield Index contributing. And we're also an answer on the chase. So, of course, it's a big deal. It's the fact that that happened is mental. But yes, we were an answer on a question on the chase. Sure, never thought in a million years I'd be saying that, but here we are. We're at that stage. We're bigger than Liverpool. It's official. It's been decided, but we will talk about them instead of us today because there is plenty to discuss. A few fun facts about this day. It is the 21st of February. On this day in 1987, John Aldridge made his Liverpool debut. That is a massive, massive milestone. It came in our 2-2 draw at Aston Villa, with Paul Walsh bagging his 37th and final Reds goals. Also on this day was the infamous time in 2007. We came from behind to win 2-1 at Barcelona. The game was played after the infamous Craig Bellamy, John Arnorisa golf club scandal, which... you know, the celebration said it all following that goal. Reese's winner was our 250th goal in the European Cup for Liverpool. And also on this day in 2006, Sami Hyypiä made his 57th consecutive European appearance, a club record for an outfield player. And in 1991, to close things off, Kenny Dalglish actually resigned as boss of the club. He's been charged by that point 6 years, I believe it was, leading us to a double in his first season and a further 2 league titles, FA Cup, 2 Charity Shields, and a Screen Sports Super Cup. But yes, 1991 was the day. On this day, 21st of February 1991, was when Kenny Dalglish resigned as Reds boss during his first run with the club. So a few fun facts about this date for you there. And we'll just sort of break into the immediate news that's been coming out, which is Liverpool actually being linked to an attacking player. We have been linked to Allan Andrade Elias, or Elias. I think it's Elias. Allan Andrade Elias. Big name coming out of Palmeiras at the moment, coming from the Brazilian league. This is an amazing article that Eddie wrote on Twitter, just explaining the situation, why we're being linked with him. And yeah, he is someone that Liverpool are interested in. I don't know if it sort of goes beyond that. I don't know if this is just us sort of, we've got our short list, you know, the statistical breakdown, the data-driven approach. We'll have a short list of players that we're interested in. But this Allan Andrade Elias, that's going to be a nightmare to try and say in the future if he does join, is the key name that's being linked with the Reds. And as seen by Eddie here, here's what he's seeing. He's been doing like a deep dive over the past 24 hours, as you can see at the top here. So I spent much of the last 24 hours digging into Allan Andrade Elias, going to get that name sorted, of Palmeiras, and the picture is becoming clearer. This feels like a calculated gamble rather than a headline grab. Now, that, to me, screams Liverpool's transfer policy over the past, 15 years, the FSG approach. There's been multiple gambles that aren't like headline grabbers. I would say Salah, when he joined, wasn't exactly a headline grabber. That was definitely a calculated gamble. You've had, Van Dijk, for all that we knew he was a great player. It's a lot of money. It was a gamble to an extent, if you understand what I mean by that. You've signed a lot of young players. You signed Emre Can. That was a, young lad, more of a gamble. There's been signings like that. And this does feel like it falls into that same bracket. And we'll read through the article and then we'll sort of delve into the stats. He's 21. He's left-footed, quick across the turf and bold enough to take responsibility in tight spaces. From the highlights I've been watching over the past couple hours, he definitely feels like a Luis Diaz style mold player, where not so much his technical ability is right up there, but in terms of he's got that freakish quick acceleration to when he is closed down, when he is put under pressure. If there's 2 defenders in front of him, he can get past them with quick bursts of acceleration. He's capable on his left foot and his right foot. He's very, very good at those sort of one-touch knocks that sort of get it past people and then sprint onto the ball. Brilliant stuff like that. And at the moment, when we've got a Liverpool team who can't break down defenses that sort of sit back, supposedly, even though in a couple of games recently we've seen it, but we need people like that who can maneuver in tight spaces, who can maneuver in those sort of small pockets of space and break down the back line, which we haven't got enough of. It's why we miss Diaz so much. It's why Ngamoa, when he comes on, he makes a big difference because he actually tries to beat people. Gakpo doesn't do that. Salah doesn't do that. So having someone like this, bold enough to take responsibility in tight spaces, is a really big asset to have if it does come true. The first thing that stands out is his dribbling. He carries the ball with purpose, around 2.5 completed dribbles per 90 in Brazil's top flight. Tells you he can beat a man sometimes too and shift the angle of an attack in a heartbeat. Yes, if you watch any of his highlights, that is the biggest thing you will see of it. Is there's so many times where he'll be closed down by two people and he's so easily able to just one touch the ball and it's past both of them and he's in behind. He's great in those tight areas. He's great at being able to take on people. And like you said there, around 2.5 completed dribbles, not even just attempted ones, says a lot about how great he is in that aspect. What intrigues me more is how he plays within the chaos. He sits in pockets, receives, releases, then darts away again. There's a self-assurance in his finishing too. When he strikes the ball, he seems to know exactly where he wants it to go. That composure at 21 is worth noting. Yes. So, yeah, he's a give and go style player. Gakpo plays a system. Gakpo plays very much. He's looking for the last man. He's using his technical ability to find someone in the box or on the back post. We've seen that time and time again. Allan Andrade Elias is the Diaz mold of player. He's the Yan Diamande mold of player. He's someone who is going to take it on himself and make space by beating people, by stretching back lines because of his ability on the ball. Again, we need more of that at the moment. So I've got no issue if that's the style of play that he wants to use. Whether or not Slot wants people like that remains to be seen. Obviously, Diaz is the one that was left in the summer. Ngamoa has not been getting used, probably because of his age, but also probably because of the play style to an extent. I think Chiesa is a similar type of player. He doesn't necessarily suit a stylistic... He hasn't got a stylistic matchup with Slot, maybe, in terms of he's not the most creative player. He's not the most technically gifted in sort of a Gakpo sense where he's looking for the right pass. He wants to play off the last man. He wants to be running at defenses. Gakpo doesn't do that. Whether or not Allan Andrade Elias would suit Slot style, I don't know. We'd have to look into that and wait and see. He's versatile, right wing, left wing, even spells at right back and in midfield. That speaks to tactical intelligence and a willingness to work. That is Slot written all over. We've seen this season, you've got Szoboszlai playing right back. You've had Diaz play as a number 9 in the past. You've had Curtis Jones drop to right back. You've had Curtis Jones drop to left back at points when Kirkes is pushing forward. Slot values versatility and he wants people who are going to play in a multitude of positions or are capable of doing that. This sounds like that type of profile of player. So it's a gamble in the sense of, Brazilian league. We saw Allan, the one who was meant to join us a couple of years ago in the Dominic Szoboszlai, Gravenberch 2023 window, who then went to Wolves and it just has not worked for him. So it's a gamble going to people from the Brazilian league. I can't think, was the last player we signed from Brazil, Lucas? Maybe we signed him from Grêmio and that was 2007, was it, when we signed Lucas? That's the last one I can remember from the Brazilian league, unless I'm being dense, but I can't think of anyone else. Someone let me know. It is a bit of a gamble. It's very rare you get that caliber of player. The biggest example is Neymar, I think, in recent years of coming from the Brazilian league with Santos and doing what he did. So, there's a definite risk there, but it could pay off because Brazilian league, they don't tend to structure their transfer deals extremely high. It wouldn't cost us an absolute arm and a leg to sign him if it was someone we were going to. And you can occasionally get these young gems that develop. But again, we see Chelsea at the moment, the players they've got. Washington was one, for example. Arsenal, Martinelli, I think he came from the Brazilian league when they signed him. But they also had who was the young winger they had? They signed a young, was it Maresca or Mosquera? Someone like that. There was a winger that they signed. Yes, Alan Souza never played for us, couldn't get his work permit. Forgot about that one. 2015, I believe that was. Did something on him recently, actually. Yes, so that's, and it's Alan again, just coincidentally. But yeah, he presses high, nicks possession in advanced areas and contributes defensively without fuss. The notion of, possession in advanced areas and contributes defensively without fuss is absolutely right. If you're looking at him this season, so touches in the opposition box, 5.34 per 90, which in the Brazilian league is in the top 2% for this metric, which is great to see. Obviously, Liverpool, we like to push high. We're an aggressive team. Tackles, however, he only averages 0.76. So he's a presser of the ball, but he's not necessarily someone who's going to win the ball back. He can nick it in advanced areas. In fact, of that 0.76 that he wins, I believe 0.55 of it is in the final third. So he is a high presser of the ball, and he contributes defensively without fuss. Absolutely. There are rough edges. The output is modest, 11 goal contributions in 64 games. He can drift out of matches. Physically, he will need to adapt to the Premier League's relentlessness. And that there, and also at around 35 million euros, structured with bonuses. If this one happens, it feels like Liverpool investing in growth rather than instant stardom. If developed properly, he could become one of those signs we look back on and say the clues there all along. This bit here, though, he drifts out of matches. Physically, he will need to adapt to the Premier League's relentlessness. Right now, Liverpool are finding ourselves in a situation where Salah is probably going to go in summer. That's... I don't think it's a non-negotiable, but I feel like it is something that we're sort of getting towards. And we need someone who can immediately come in, because Chiesa is going to go as well. Let's face it, Chiesa is basically gone already. Salah, Chiesa, they're both going to be leaving. Your option then on right wing is... God, you've got no one there, really. Maybe Szoboszlai. Maybe... Someone's knocking at my front door. Brilliant. No, but we need to bring in someone who's like ready-made. And I don't think we're in a position right now where we can be gambling that someone will eventually pay off. That's why Diamande is the player being linked with us at the moment. That's why, Liverpool being linked with every... Olise is another one which we can touch on, because there is an article on him on AnfieldIndex.com. He's another player getting linked. We're being linked with big players now, players who are ready to go. And this season has shown that there is perhaps an unwillingness from us, or a sort of, not an entitlement, but we can't take another season off. We can't have another year of waiting for things to happen. We've just spent the money we have. We're going to have to rebuild in some areas of the pitch, but are we going to invest in someone young who's from the Brazilian league, who's going to take a lot of time to adapt to the Premier League, who's going to have to fill the role of Mo Salah instantly, because there is no natural right wingers at the club at the moment, or there won't be in the summer, because Chiesa's probably going to go, Salah's probably going to go. You're then stuck with Szoboszlai there, who's too important in midfield. We need someone who is ready to go. And Diamande, I wouldn't even say is to that level yet. He's going to take time to adapt. So that says, if Diamande is probably not going to be quite ready, then what hope does this lad have as a player himself? As his actual statistics, he's actually very good in certain key aspects. Touches in the opposition box, as I said, 5.34 per 90. Fouls 1.91. He's very not lightweight, but because of the way that he plays, it's like Jack Grealish. He's just very good at beating people. He wins fouls because of his build. Aerial duels 1.53, which is in the top 17% over in the Brazilian league. Duels 6.1 per 90 minutes, which, again, massive. Showcases how hard he is to actually get off the ball. 1.91 successful dribbles per 90 minutes. It is just his output. His output is a bit of a worry. Namely, as well as assists. His expected assists is 0.01 per 90 minutes. His successful passes, 13.73, which is in the bottom 1.4%. Namely because he is not a passer of the ball like a Gakpo. He is a receive the ball, run with it. Occasionally he will pass it and he will go, and that's when he receives it. But a successful pass percentage is 80, which is quite low. I understand he's a winger. I understand all that. But that is something that in slot system you are going to need to massively improve on, and something that you're going to have to develop. There's just a worry there that we're gambling on the future, when next season is when we're going to have to really rebuild and look to push on. It's not a bad signing. Don't, if it is someone we make, I'm happy for it. 35 million euros. What's that in pounds? 30 million, 28 million, something like that. So it's a gamble, but it could pay off. But next season, we are going to have to be in the now. We are going to have to sign someone for immediate. If we did sign on Allan Andrade Elias, if he did bring him in, he would have to be the rotation option or so, or maybe he could be used on the left-hand side to compete with Gakpo because he is versatile in that respect. Who knows? But as a player, he looks very talented. He looks very good. He definitely has a great shot on him. He loves cutting inside, but not in the Cody Gakpo sense where you feel as though the majority of the time he cuts inside, it's with the intention of drifting back towards the midfield. When he cuts inside, it's very much with the intention of creating space in the center and running into said space. He's just a nightmare to defend against from just from the clips I've seen. I can not claim to have seen any Brazilian league football. I've got no way of doing it. And, he's a very aggressive style player in the way that he pushes forward. Could it work at Liverpool? Yeah, for the waffle I did for the past 5 minutes, it could definitely work. The only key questions for me are, is he someone that Slot is going to particularly want in terms of the way that he plays? Diaz left, like I said, and Gamoa is not really given much chance. I know that's age, but he doesn't want wingers who are going to sort of break down the structure. He doesn't want wingers who are going to change the whole dynamic up front. He wants people who work for others. Gakpo stays in Slot's team because for all that he does just cut inside and it goes nowhere, that's what Slot wants. He wants him to cut in. He wants him to find the midfielder. He wants him to try and stretch play on the opposite wing. He wants him to try and put the ball into the box. He wants someone who uses the overlap and run of the left back, not to sort of run into space, but to pull defenders away so that he can find someone else. He wants that. He doesn't necessarily look to people who break down back lines by running at them as sort of his style player, I don't think. And like I said before, it's going to take him time to adapt to the Premier League. Maybe he is someone Liverpool are going to look to bring in as a rotation or backup option. He isn't necessarily going to be thrust into the first team, but our priority should be bringing in someone who is ready to immediately go straight into this team, because Salah is probably going to depart, because Chiesa is definitely going to depart this summer, and we need someone good enough to slot straight into this team. Allan Andrade Elias is not that player at the moment. He could be eventually, but if you are going to sign him as a rotation, you need someone good enough to take over the role. He should deputize. And that brings us on to the next one. Of course, Michael Olise. He's always going to be linked with Liverpool. But they've been urged to make, this is written by Ryan Anderson, February 21st. Olise has been linked with Liverpool for the longest time now. Obviously, it just feels like the natural heir apparent to Mo Salah. At Bayern at the moment, he is doing absolutely incredible, Olise. And we saw it during his time at Palace. He felt like one of those players who was too good for Palace's level. At Bayern, he is absolutely doing incredible this season. He's been superb. In his last 10 matches, he has registered, let me just see if I can get that. So 3 goals, fair enough. But he's also registered 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 assists. 3 goals, 10 assists in his last 10 matches for Bayern Munich, Michael Olise. And this is the article that was written about it. Liverpool continue to plan for the long term of their attack, and one name gathering momentum is Michael Olise, with Mohamed Salah expected to move on by 2027 at the latest. Discussion around potential successors has intensified, particularly after comments from the former France international Frank Leboeuf. The Bayern Munich winger has emerged as a leading candidate both for his productivity and how naturally his style could fit into Arne Slot's system at Anfield. I did a thing on it on my channel, and I was looking at the way that Olise does play. It is so Salah-esque, but he's just got the capability of beating a man. And that's something that Salah doesn't have. He's become a bit predictable. You can try and stop him. He's great at what he does, of course, but he hasn't got that pace anymore as an option. Olise does. Olise stands out amongst the options. The former Crystal Palace attacker has flourished since joining Bayern, producing 13 goals and 25 assists in 34 appearances across all competitions this season. So that's 38 goal contributions in 34 games. Playing alongside Harry Kane and Luis Diaz, of course. He's added consistency to the creativity, the first court attention in the Premier League. Olise's transition to Bayern Munich has been seamless, a move that has elevated his reputation across Europe, leading the Champions League in completed dribbles. The wingers combine finesse with growing tactical maturity, traits that would suit Liverpool's dynamic attacking approach. The only thing, of course, with Olise is he's going to cost you an arm and a leg, because he's not going to go cheap. Olise, Bayern are not going to lose Michael Olise for a cheap deal. Let me just go on to Transfermarkt and see what his actual value is. Because Liverpool right now going into summer, so between 104.9 million and 128.2 million euros, supposedly. That's fairly cheap, I think. But the problem we've got is because this summer Liverpool need to bring in depth at centre-back. That's a non-negotiable. Canate is not signed on a contract. Gomez may go still. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, to be honest. Endo is probably going to leave. So you're left with Van Dijk, Jeremy Jacquet, and Leone, who's coming back from a long-term injury. We need depth. We need people we can bring in, and that's going to cost us a decent amount of money. We also need to bring in a left winger if we're looking to add a bit more depth there. We are going to need another number 6 because Endo is leaving and he is the backup to Gravenberch, supposedly, even though Jones plays there and McAllister. So guarantee McAllister sticks around. So Olise is going to cost us a lot of money. Are Liverpool going to have the same summer window given how we've performed this season? Probably not. We're not going to go out and we're not going to spend £500 million again. So I don't think Michael Olise is something financially that Liverpool are going to look at and think, we can get this done. Is Olise that good or another Jadon Sancho? Olise is brilliant. He is absolutely brilliant. I think with Sancho, he did it at Dortmund and then it faltered off when he went to United. And I think we saw his true sort of level. Olise did it with Palace in the Premier League. He proved that he's good enough. This is why Chelsea were after him earlier on. This is why we've been getting linked with him. He is proving time and time again. With Olise, he's just such a versatile player. Let me just see if I can get the article that I was reading about it, about his play style in particular. Position and style of play from Michael Olise. Yeah, obviously moved over to Borussia Dortmund. Its technical analysis, his left-footed attacker is predominantly played as a right winger with some game time at the number 10. He's confident and creative, capable of carrying the ball forward, dribbling through traffic and delivering penetrative yet delicate passes and crosses. When operating from the right as left footer, he looks to cut inside and deliver bending, dropping crosses to teammates, attacking the centre. It's very good, Cody Gakpo, or more commonly, the far side of the penalty area. I'll cast this on just to sort of, and then we will get to the comments in a bit because there's a good few of them coming in. Give me 2 seconds. Yeah, when operating from the right as a left footer, he looks to cut inside and deliver bending, dropping crosses to teammates across the centre. Very much a Cody Gakpo, as I said then, or more commonly the far side of the penalty area. Olise has an impressive ability to lift the ball over the closest opponent with enough topspin to work the ball into runners. His disguise on the ball, allied to a drop of the shoulder, makes it difficult for his direct opponent to predict when he will choose to cut inside. This gives him the momentary space to deliver in-swinging crosses. As you can see here, you know, the speed of which he can go from right to left is very, very good. That's something that we've not had a lot of this season. Gakpo does not have that, I don't think. Deliver accurate crosses with minimal backlift, making them difficult to stop. He's also improved his ability to work around and deliver crosses from his weaker side, mostly low-driven efforts. His creativity in goals, the cross-receiving combines regularly as he does. Olise holds the width well, Mo Salah, and is disciplined in possession. He stretches the opposing backline in receiving switches of play and aiming to isolate and attack the left back. He shows intelligence in when to release the ball after receiving wide or attacking via a dribble. One particular strength here is his delicate sliding passes in behind for central runners. And the more you read about that, the more you hear about that, the more it feels like Salah, Gakpo, those long balls into the box with good top spins that is able to dip onto attackers is Cody Gakpo. The ability of giving and going, the central balls that he plays to look for central attackers, very Mohamed Salah, holding width, Mohamed Salah. Not saying to that level, but he does have the same sort of skill sets and he plays the same way that Slot wants Salah to play, how he wants Gakpo to play, and that's a good omen. And this is what I was referring to earlier. Allan Andrade Elias, brilliant player at breaking down attackers with his pace, his explosive energy, very good on the ball, but it's not the way Slot wants to play. He wants a key player in the squad who plays the way that he wants to play. That could be Olise, and you could have Allan as a backup to him as a different option. That's why we thrived so much last season, is because you had Gakpo there, and then after him you had Diaz, two very, very different styles of player, which worked in our favor, because if something wasn't working, you had an entirely different skill set to bring on. We have that this season, but he isn't using Ngamoa because he isn't as experienced or trusted as Diaz was. He doesn't have that now. Olise needs to be number one target. Sell Maka, Chiesa, Endo, Gomez, and Salah, and get in Olise, Wharton, Gordon, Gertrude, and Urenki. We will come to that one shortly. This is the thing. I think that there is very much a sort of, we all do it. It feels very sort of football manager, sell this player to bring in this player. There's a couple there I 100% agree with. There's a couple, Anthony Gordon. I don't like Anthony Gordon that much. I don't think he's that good of a player personally, but we can debate that in shortly. There is room for Olise to add more goals to his impressive attacking displays. However, the fact that he's scored the number he has this season on 13 and he could add more showcases, he can work more shooting opportunities for himself, especially cutting in as a wrong-footed winger. The quality of his ball striking means he can score goals after cutting inside. Right winger. For the majority of his career, Olise has been used as a right winger at Crystal Palace under Patrick Vieira, then Roy Hodgson. I forgot Vieira was at Palace. Oh my God. I completely forgot about that. He's taken up the right wing role in either a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 attacking shape in both formations. He has regularly worked 1v1 moments, dribbling at his direct opponent, which leans into the stats that he actually puts out. And I'll cast these on screen because they make for impressive viewing. Let me just get the Michael Olise stats. This is per 90 minutes in the Bundesliga by comparison to other Bundesliga. So the fact that they said there he can add more goals to his repertoire, but he's averaging 0.56 per 90 minutes in the league, above his expected goals of 0.12. Showcases a lot there. Shots 3.68 per 90 minutes, with 2.01 of them being on target. That's more than Cody Gakpo is averaging. That is far more of a shot percentage than Cody Gakpo is averaging this season. He's only averaging 23% shots on target from shots. That averages out to about 67, 68-ish, like that kind of margin maybe. 0.89 assists per 90. So every 2 matches you are getting a goal contribution and a half statistically. A goal contribution, or sometimes 2, something like that. 85% pass accuracy. For wingers, you're not going to get a very high pass accuracy. Maybe that's where I was a bit harsh before, and Allan Andrade Elias criticizing the low pass accuracy he has. You're never going to have a high one if you're a winger, really. You're not about that. It's not, you're not like a Grealish or a Bernardo Silva who are there to pass the ball, are there to find ways of getting it behind. If you're a direct winger or an aggressive winger, your pass accuracy is never going to be high. It's just not going to happen. 50.27 passes per 90 minutes, top 3% of Bundesliga wingers. Accurate long balls, top 26. Chances created, 3.07. Big chances created, 1.17. That's in the top 3%, top 2% almost of Bundesliga wingers this season. Successful crosses could be higher, top 48% still, with 22.9% accuracy is not great. And that's something which we've seen a lot of this season, of balls to no one. And just to play, devil's advocate and not be completely blind, Olise would be perfect for Liverpool, but we do have to be realistic about certain things. We see time and time again this season how much Gakpo's crosses go nowhere or Salah's crosses go nowhere. That's a worry. And the fact that you've got Harry Kane in the middle, who was one of the best headers of the ball, of his generation, arguably, that's a bit of a worry there that he can't quite increase that percentage. And you've also got Luis Diaz running onto the back post with the incredible speed that he does. There's a slight worry there. Successful dribbles, 2.29 per 90. Always going to happen with Olise. Duels won, 5.64. It's only in the top 28%. I thought it'd be much higher than that. Touches in the opposition box, 8.65. And then his defensive acumen, 1.06 tackles and interception. Possession won in the final third, 0.95. Look, he's just, it's obvious and it's so clear. Just Olise is just the perfect sort of winger for Liverpool. If we were to bring in Olise, if we were to, if you bring in Olise, you've got someone who could be your starting right winger for the next 6-7 years. He's only young, Michael Olise. I need to actually get his age because I'm not 100% certain what it is. He's 24. He's only just turned 24 as well. If you bring him in, you could have your Mo Salah. Salah signed for us when he was about that age, I think. He's 33, and we signed him in 2017. So what's that now? So 9. Around this age, 25, I think it was when we signed Salah, 24, 25. So you know, you've got your long-term option there. If you do want to bring in Olise and you want someone long-term, and then behind him, you could sign Allan Andrade Elias. Said El Malad, this kid is top player already. Get him signed before he goes somewhere else. I'm assuming that's Allan. Look, I'm fine signing him. I don't think he's ready to be the starter. Go through a couple of the comments. That team, including Aldridge, Barnes, Beasley, and Houghton, was unreal. That 5-0 win versus Forest. Yes, I watched a documentary on that. It was great. Really, really enjoyed that documentary. I think that's about the on this day things we were doing earlier on. Yeah. Alan Sousa, even though he never played for us, yes. I'm going to look up actually. Players Liverpool signed from Brazilian League. It's interesting because I don't know many players that we've signed from the Brazilian League. Marcelo Pitaluga, yeah. Allan, yeah, that's another one there. Lucas Leiva, yeah. Diego Cavalieri. Would never get a lot of goalkeepers, basically, is what I'm seeing from this. We've only signed like 4 players from the Brazilian leagues, and of those 4 players, 2 of them are midfielders and 2 of them are goalkeepers. So, it says a lot really about just how it's a gamble. Like, of those, Lucas worked, of course. It wasn't exactly like he was, it wasn't a world beater, but we all love Lucas. Lucas is great. He's a cult hero. But then the other ones of that, Diego Cavalieri, he only played for us 10 times. Marcelo Pitaluga didn't even play for us. Allan didn't even play for us, and he was with us for, I think, 7 years or something. It's a gamble going the Brazilian league, which leans into what I was saying then. If you want to sign Allan Andrade Elias, fine, not an issue. But you're going to need someone ahead of him who can take the mantle. You can't just trust him straight away to be starting. If this player is half as good as Coutinho, Firmino, Ali, or Fabinho, get him signed now. I'm fine. Look, he could be absolutely amazing. He could be absolutely brilliant. I just don't want to thrust him straight into the starting lineup. Completely different play style to what Slot utilizes at the moment, and just it not work. It could completely work. It could absolutely work, but he's just not quite ready for that jump. As Eddie said brilliantly in the article, he's not quite to that stage yet. He would need to develop. He would need to adjust to the intensity of the Premier League. He's very great. He's very, very good in duels and ground duels, of course, but there's a difference between the Brazilian League and the Premier League. So, yeah, technically, he seems like he's got all the traits to be a superb player for us. He looks like he could absolutely go on and do great things, but it's not guaranteed. It's one thing looking great in the Brazilian league for Palmeiras. It's another thing representing Liverpool and being a starting right winger. There's huge, huge gaps there. Like I said, only a few players have come from the Brazilian league, really, and absolutely shone straight away. And like I said, Neymar is probably the best example in recent years of someone who has done that. So, yeah. Would cost same as Isak or Vert. Also, centre-back and CDM are a priority more. This is linking to the Olise comment. I don't think he'd cost as much as Isak. Vert, possibly, yeah. But centre-back and CDM are definitely the priority. The only problem is we might make the right wing position a priority this summer, because if Salah does go, let's face it, we're not giving Salah a new contract. We're not, because he's not going to take reduced wages. Not with everything that's just gone on. And I know he's come back and he looks like he's better. We're not going to give him a new contract. By that point, he'll be 35. His wages aren't going to increase. He's not going to be upped. Liverpool are not going to let him go for free because of who he is. There is still a market there in Saudi. I don't think Salah's going to go to a top European team now. There's no team. The footballing world around him has moved on like so quickly in the past 6 to 8 months, where everyone's front line just feels set up and it doesn't feel like there's a place for a Mohamed Salah in one of those top European teams. There is for us because of everything he's done, who he is, He's not going to go to a PSG and smash it. He's not going to go to a Bayern Munich who have Michael Olise. He's not going to go to a Real Madrid. He's not going to go to a Barcelona. He's not going to make that kind of jump. If Saudi come in with big money, the club are going to look at that and think, we've got 1 year left. Let's sell him on. And then Chiesa's definitely going to be going, let's face it. So then the right wing becomes a priority. And we have midfielders who can sort of deputise that CDM role. Centre-back needs to be like a priority regardless, but the issue is we're not going to go into the new season with just Ekitike, Isak, and Gamoa Gakpo up front. We're going to have to bring in attackers. So that is something that will need to be said. Everything depends on getting Champions League football next season. Nioni and Rio will be the new first-team signings into regular first-team Premier League games if they don't. Yeah, if you don't get... if we don't get Champions League, that changes everything, of course, like you say. And Rio and Trainioni, but they're not getting game time. Are they going to just be magically ready next season? I don't think they are. They're still young. And Nioni's only just turned 17, I believe. So we have to get Champions League football. If we want to sign these players, if we want to sign the likes of an Olise. I think if you get Champions League football, you can sign an Olise. If you don't, you get an Allan Andrade Elias. You know what I mean? Like, that will determine so much of our transfer strategy going forward. And there was that report that came out yesterday from Fabrizio Romano where he was saying, look, Liverpool are still evaluating the situation. If they don't get Champions League football for next season, that will probably force things in a certain direction. So it's massive that we get top 4 or top 5, whatever it is now, and get Champions League football to sign these players. We need to show that there's signs of bringing in success again so we can bring in these top level players. But yeah, Rio needs more game time. I don't think the Gakpo experiment, it's not even an experiment, it's just he's not working at the moment, Cody Gakpo. Like I said, Rio and Gamoa, very much a different player. He suits the Allan Andrade Elias style of play. He is someone who will take on people and beat them and make space for himself and work for himself, and it helps others. Trainioni, I hope there's a place for him in this team. And next season, we may lose McAllister. I wouldn't be surprised if Jones left, but then we're going to have to bring in Wharton. I hope that he gets game time progressively. I would love to see him in and around the team. But you can't rely on him to suddenly be the answer in midfield when he has not showcased a vast amount because he's not given the chance. When I mentioned Gordon, I'm not talking a 95 million fee, as that is crazy. Who else would be options on the left other than the likes of Barcola? It's a great question. It's just like the issue is there is not a vast amount, is there? There's really not a vast amount of left wingers that you could go for. Let me just even get the list. Obviously, Anthony Gordon. This is the list of left wingers who were just in the Premier League alone. Leandro Trossard, Pedro Neto, Kevin Schade, Simon Adingra. I don't think Adingra could be an awful shout per se. I know that Matoma is someone who is constantly being linked with Liverpool. I know that he is a winger who is constantly being discussed in and around. I wouldn't mind a Matoma. Again, he just feels like he would suit Slot's style. The issue is Slot's style is not really working at points. It is now at the moment. We've seemed to have found a bit of attack and momentum, but I would not mind a Matoma coming in. I'd be absolutely fine with that. I know Mateus Mane is another player being linked, but he's a bit more central. I don't think Anthony Gordon, I think he's a good crosser of the ball and he's quick. I don't think he's that good, Anthony Gordon. And he scored the 4 goals against Karabag the other day. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Fastest hat-trick for a British player, I believe, or an Englishman in the Champions League. He's now Newcastle's top Champions League goal scorer of all time. Superb. Fine. But does that suddenly erase the fact that he's got like 1 goal in his past 365 days? Does that suddenly erase the poor performances we've been seeing from him? No, I'm not a big Anthony Gordon fan. I just don't think he brings energy, he brings tenacity, and I think that suits what Klopp would have wanted more. It doesn't necessarily feel like a Slot type of player. And I know that people aren't looking at this as going, well, we shouldn't be signing players for Slot. I get that entirely. I just think that Anthony Gordon he's quick, good cross of the ball, and he can occasionally have a good shot at goal. Brilliant. But beyond that, I just don't see the hype. And I think Newcastle are not going to lose someone who they view as their star man. With the Walter Marde debacle going on, Anthony Gordon is their key talisman up front at the moment. They're not going to lose him. They're not going to risk losing him. Any new manager coming in is going to want to keep him because let's face it, Eddie Howe staying around, probably not. I just don't think he's the option for it. But like you said, there's not a vast amount of options that Liverpool could go out there and sign. Let me just see who's best left wingers in Europe and Premier League currently. Let's look into some names. Let's look into who could be thrown around. Because obviously Semenyo is someone who moved away. Harry Wilson, NDI, obviously not going to happen. Morgan Rogers is one that's being thrown around again, of course. Yakuba Minter, I quite like Yakuba Minter. I think he could be really good if he was to join. But again, he's just that very quick, very direct style player. Anthony Gordon, I'm not interested in. Matoma is another one that we could be potentially looking at. Justin Kluivert, perhaps. There's options. It is just you have to get the right one to suit Liverpool. And for me, Anthony Gordon would cost a lot of money. I just don't see anything in him that makes me think you. Perfect, personally. So you're saying let's buy wingers who are not wingers, then play them as defenders. Slot. Right. Is Allan enjoying Liverpool? Not yet. It's just Liverpool interested in him. Apparently, there is just sort of internal talks about it because he's so cheap, he's so young, he's so talented. So there is internal discussions, but there always is in this situation. There always is these sort of linked players for Liverpool. We have a short list. We have a data-driven approach, of course. Do you think the scouting network isn't that good because Brighton and Bournemouth seem to pick gems up for buttons? No, I think I have no issue with our scouting. I have no issue. I think if you look through Liverpool's transfers over the past few years, so let me get all the Liverpool transfers up that we've made over the past sort of, let's say 10 years, just as a sort of a baseline. And I'll go through it and we'll pick the ones that haven't worked. We shouldn't sign players for slot. Did you not see the round table? I'm not saying that. I'm fine with it. I'm fine if we bring players in for slot because obviously he needs it. That round table just basically showed me that everyone is united. They have to bring in the best players for the manager. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's other people who are saying, look, we should not be bringing players in for slot because we don't want slot. We should bring in players who will suit whoever. But yeah, I have with regards to this one, do you think the scouting network isn't that good because Brighton and Bournemouth seem to pick gems up for buttons? Let's sort of cast all our transfers, let's say over the past 10 years, and we'll sort of work out which ones of these have not worked. So this summer, for example, obviously Isak is still up in the air, and that's a big money one. Let me just get rid of the turtle. Go away. Yeah, Isak, not necessarily someone, we have to wait and see. Chiesa, maybe, but again, that's just not his fault. I've got no issue with Mamadas really personally. This window, incredible. Endo, Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, the turtle is back. Go away. Before that, look, Carvalho, sure, he just didn't really have much of an impact by Newcastle. Nunez, I don't think Nunez was a failure per se. I've got no issue there. Canate, Diaz, both brilliant. Jota, Thiago, Costa, Tsimikas, good backup in Tsimikas. Thiago Alcantara, Diogo Jota, of course, good players. I'm not the biggest Thiago Alcantara fan, but, that's just me personally. Takuma Minamino, sure. Seth Vandenberg sold for more money. Andy Lonergan was never going to amount to anything more than just rotation. Same with Adrian. Brilliant window. Naby Keita, just legs made of biscuits. Before that, you've got Van Dijk, Salah, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Robertson, all brilliant. Mane, Wijnaldum, Karius, yeah, fine. But that was just a mistake. It wasn't like it was a bad signing per se. And then before then, you've got the dark times, Benteke being a big one. Before that, you've got the worst window that I've been alive for. Definitely, Markovic, Balotelli. So there's a couple, but my point is, in that same breath, there has been so many great acquisitions that Liverpool have made for bargain deals. Emre Can was a bargain deal. Yes, he went for free, but he was still a great deal. Firmino, no one was looking at Firmino, and then he turned into one of our greatest players of the Premier League era. Mane, we signed him for cheap. Wijnaldum, same thing there. Salah, Klopp didn't even want him. He wanted Julian Brand. I think that the way that we conduct business is brilliant. There is the occasional miss, of course, but that's the same with every club. I think Brighton and Bournemouth, just because they can't go out and spend copious amounts of cash, there's a limit to what Bournemouth can do because a huge part of revenue for football clubs is match day. Bournemouth stadium capacity is tiny. They can't bring in the money that other clubs do around them, so they have to pick up these bargain deals. And 9 times out of 10, they work because they again, data-driven approach, it works very well. We just have a lot more wiggle room to work with money-wise, so we bring in bigger, high-quality players. And because our ambitions are much higher, sometimes they don't amount to the same level that they would for Bournemouth, who are pushing for sort of mid-table, maybe European spaces or something like that. So, yeah, I think that's just the main reason why. Why aren't we looking at Fofana? Another good shout. Allen's not what we need. Hughes should start scouting lower leagues in and around Europe. We missed out on talents like Vuskovic, Ryan, and Kevin in Fulham. Will the shape change post Salah with wing-back supporting a more central attacking line like Ekitike, Isak, Gakpo, and Danz? Potentially, I think that with Isak and Ekitike, obviously they're meant to be sort of rotation now, but that's because Isak's been working his way back up to fitness. There will come a time where they both are incorporated into the same team. I suggested you have Ekitike starting as the left winger, but he drifts centrally, and then you can have one of the midfielders push up out wide alongside him, or you can have Kerkez stick up there and Jones drop deep. There's a multitude of options. With Frimpong is a very aggressive right back. You can absolutely see him playing that way. Kerkez, perhaps, but he's just a bit more defensively astute. I think he's shown in recent games. The shape will change, but the whole system is going to change because Salah's so important to it. Even when he's not in form, the ball gets played through him out wide. He keeps the play stretched. He's looking to create, as we saw against Brighton. He's still integral even when he's not in good form because he is who he is and the ball will get played to him regardless. The whole thing is going to change when he leaves. How that is, I don't know. And yeah, Salah and the midfield need a big overhaul. The midfield, perhaps not as big an overhaul, but, you know, if McAllister goes, Wharton comes in. Yeah, absolutely. I want to keep Jones. I think Jones is great. I think his depth, you don't get rid of Jones. That will need an overhaul, but right wing is definitely going to change drastically. We need to buy kids who hit the ground running and not injury prone, or change the training programs to reduce these injuries. But yes, this season we've been hampered with them massively. But in the same, let's sort of go to last season, and injuries just were not a worry. They didn't happen. Because of the slowdown and intensity from what Klopp was operating under, the whole medical department was on top foot. We didn't have any injuries last season that were like massively substantial, detrimental to the way that we wanted to play. Let me see if I can get the LFC injuries 25-26. And let's see what's actually been going on. Premier injuries. Does this tell me obviously Bradley's one was just a complete freak of nature, sort of, you know, it wasn't like, it was just him running, set that one off. Leone, same thing, it was just a bad tackle. Endo, you know, just landed awkwardly. Alexander Isak wasn't his fault, got his leg broken into. Jeremy Frimpong, yeah, fair enough, but Frimpong's always been that way by all accounts from what we can see. So yes, they need to not be injury prone, but there's no way you can account for. No one could have accounted for Leone tearing his ACL in the way they did, just like no one could have accounted for Oxlade-Chamberlain tearing his in the way that he did. No one could account for Isak getting his leg broken by Van der Ven. No one could account for Endo going down the way he did and hurting his ankle. Like, these things happen. Yes, Frimpong routinely has been getting injured. That is absolutely true. Who else is there? Alisson. He's been like that for the longest time that we can remember. There's still a fit squad there. But yeah, we do need to look at that. And the last player we'll touch on, so obviously defenders, players that are getting linked. Brown, or more specifically, Nathaniel Brown. He is a player who's getting linked to Liverpool regularly this season. Let me just see if I can get the career stats for Nathaniel Brown. As a player, he's one that Liverpool should definitely be interested in, namely because he is a great progressor of play from the back. Centre-back, young, 21, currently playing for Eintracht Frankfurt. And his tactical, you know, top 90%. Let's get this on for them. Go for the total of what he's doing this season. 4 assists from the centre-back position. Expected assists, 2.13. Successful passes, 541. Top 20% of centre-backs. Chances created, 20. Big chances created, 6. He is the Jeremy Jacquet style player, where he is a deep progressor of the ball from the back. but he's also solid in a tackle as well. 52 tackles. He's the top percentage of Bundesliga centre-backs for this. 18 interceptions this season, top 19%. Ball recoveries, 70, top 19%. Possession won in the final third, top 19%. Very much the sort of the Jeremy Jacquet style player that Liverpool could be linked with. Let me just get his age and everything like that for us. So yeah, Nathaniel Brown, he is 21 years old. He's a left back, sorry, but he can play as a centre back. That is, he has been moved around here, there, and everywhere, so to speak. And obviously, Robertson is looking set to be leaving this summer. You know, no contract's been agreed. He's now a German international, Nathaniel Brown. As a career, played for Nuremberg 2, played for Nuremberg, then went to Eintracht Frankfurt, where he spent 3 seasons at the club. He has made 61 appearances for them, scoring 6 goals. This season, he's registered 3 goals in the league, and he has made 7 appearances in Europe for the German side. German league, is it as fast as the Premiership? Again, German league, maybe not, but we also signed some brilliant players from the German league over the years. I think Firmino is just the big example of us signing someone from that division. I think Emre Can adjusted to it. It did take him a bit of time, but he did it. This season, Florian Wirtz took him a bit of time, but he is doing to it. Ekitike he hit the ground running. So yeah, it's not as intense, it's not as in quick, but you can learn and develop. Frimpong as well has had great patches this season, but he's just injury prone. So just because the German league isn't quite to the same level of the Premier League, no league is. So that is a worry, of course, but yeah, still good. Goals, 3 goals, top 8%, top 6% for fullbacks in the Bundesliga. Shots, 13, top 28. Shots on target, top 12. A very aggressive style left back. Nathaniel Brown is a left back. We only need a backup there. Sessegnon from Fulham is on a free this summer. Save some money and go for him. Yes, he is the left back, but he has played at centre back at points, is what I've meant to say before. Yes, he's someone that, you know, Sessegnon on a free deal, if it's just a backup, that's fine. I don't personally think Liverpool are going to go in for Nathaniel Brown. Like you say, he's too young, he's too talented to be sat on the bench. We're not going to sign a 21-year-old German international to sit behind Kerkez or rotate with Kerkez. Odds are Tsimikas will stick there and he will be the backup, or we will look to bring someone in. And Nathaniel Brown, for all that, you know, by all accounts, great player. I can't claim to have seen a vast amount of him. He is someone that Liverpool are interested in. They're keeping an eye on him. This was reported by Bild. He could cost in the region of 54 million. They're not going to do that. They're not going to bring in someone for that amount. I don't think. This is just reported. 54 million. Liverpool are just keeping an eye on it. Kerkez is the starting left back now, and rightfully so. He's been brilliant in recent weeks in particular. We are not going to sign someone for that amount of money who's more expensive than Kerkez, actually. German international, playing regular football, to sit on the bench or rotate. He is a starter for clubs. He is probably going to go somewhere like a Bayern, or, do you know what I mean? Like someone like big like that. Kostas Tsimikas is probably going to be the backup to Kerkez next season. I'd imagine the Roma loan isn't going well. So, yeah. As you said, Florian Wirtz, what a player. And you can see from him and Ekitike doing as a team. So this is what I mean. Like some German league players, some Bundesliga players, it doesn't work. We know that. Some of them are awful players. Not awful players, it's a bit harsh, but some of them just don't work. But we've seen enough good players. For every Naby Keita, there is a Florian Wirtz. You know, there's that caliber. There is still good players that we sign from the German leagues. So I've got no issue with it personally. And then Dorian Schultz says Costa. But yeah, this one though, Olise needs to be number 1 target. Sell Maka, Chiesa, Endo, Gomez, and Salah, and get in Olise, Wharton, Gordon, Gertrude, and Urenki. I think all the players you've said sell there, bar maybe Gomez. I'm fine keeping Gomez. I don't want to necessarily lose McAllister, but it is probably going to happen. Maybe it is time, to be fair. He's had a good few years with us. Maybe it is time to sell him. His legs look a bit gone. Everyone else there, I agree with. I think we will sell. I think we'll sell all of them, but I think Gomez could be the one that we maybe stick with. Olise, fine bringing him in. I think he'd be brilliant. Wharton, yeah, no-brainer. I think he will come to us. Gordon, I'm not interested in. Gertrude, I'd love to bring in. I think he's very, very criminally underrated. I know it's not working necessarily at Sunderland for him, but there's a real talented player in there. And Urenki, Yeah, yeah. I'm happy with that. I think you've done good there. And then last one, it's a shame Chiesa don't get more game time for, as you can see, what he brings to the team. I think in recent weeks when he has had game time, it's been fairly uninspiring, and I can kind of see now why he isn't getting the regular minutes. I think a big issue with the Chiesa conundrum is because Slot's been getting a lot of criticism. And people latched onto it and said, Chiesa needs more game time. This is Slot's fault. But when he has played in recent weeks, I've not seen anything particularly other than a bit of work rate. And we've had players in the past who run for it. Run for the sake of running. It doesn't necessarily make you a great player. I think Chiesa's good. I think he's a good player. He could easily go to another club and thrive there in the Italian league, absolutely. And he stuck around this summer when he didn't have to, and he could have gone off and guaranteed Italian football for the World Cup. He didn't. He stuck around. His reward has been the bench, and it's harsh. I get that. But when he is playing, apart from the early stages of the season, it has faded off a bit, and I kind of get it now. But let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure everyone to click like and subscribe. There is new comments coming, not new comments, there's new content coming from Anfield Index every single day. Go to AnfieldIndex.com and it's got all the breaking articles over there, 15 to 20 of them every day. ItWasAlwaysLiverpool.com is the Substack. That's, the opinion pieces. That's where we'll give all our thoughts. You get Jan Molby. Everyone likes Jan Molby doing his part over there as well. AnfieldIndexPro.com is like the upgraded version. There's no adverts. There's nothing to interrupt the content. And yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. There is more stuff coming out later on today. Build up to Nottingham Forest will be tomorrow. A lot of stuff happened today, so it just sort of got distracted from that. But thank you guys very much for watching, and we will see you all